It's easy to see the struggle of homelessness, but harder for people to see the hope in what's happening. We're going to talk about that today. Hi, everyone. I'm Randy Warren, Public Information Officer here at the Manatee County Sheriff's Office, and this is the Well Said podcast with Manatee County Sheriff Rick Wells.
Randall?
Thank you, Sheriff.
Do I seem happier today?
You're very relaxed, and people love the cowboy hat.
Because I want everyone to know you called me edgy.
Edgy?
During the last episode.
I thought, we were diving in. We're still figuring this out. Jewett is here with us, and we're going to talk to her in a minute. We're still figuring out how we want to be engaging with our audience.
You know I have a lot going on, right?
We appreciate all the people and their comments that have been reaching out to us and letting us know that they're listening. Last time we did one of these, which we're doing one a month, we had Jason Ferrier in here talking about scams. Sheriff, we talk, once a week about what's the latest scam out there. And it was so serious.
Doesn't someone being scammed make you edgy?
Yeah.
Makes me edgy.
We were both angry. In fact, I think we were all angry.
I didn't see you being angry enough. That's just me. But you're a calm, cool collective. So.
And then today we're going to, again, talk about a serious
Sergeant
topic.
Joy Jewett. She is, without a doubt, my go-to person when it comes to homeless outreach, when it comes to dealing with the issues of homelessness. She is the main person that I rely on. So back in 2020, even before that, we get a lot of complaints about homeless camps, and we can get into that, but it's always the sheriff's office going out to these camps and trying to help these people. And a lot of times they're trespassing. So you're trying to move them off that property once the owner is contacted, and then you're trying to get them to a better place. But really all we've done in the past is just displacement, right? You're just moving them from one location to another. And I did get edgy. I get aggravated when I think that there's funding out there, that there are organizations maybe that are receiving funding, and I don't see anything happening. So I made the decision, I'm just going to handle this myself. Mm-hmm. The sheriff's office is going to be the go-to agency. We're going to do something. And then I brought Joy. I already knew Joy was kind of the homeless outreach deputy anyway. She was aware of where a lot of the camps were in her zone. She was already doing things that, deputies really don't get involved in. And I'll let her get into her background and why I believe she has the passion for this job. But, then in September of 2020, she became full-time. She was the only one that was out there trying to determine how many camps were there, working with Centerstone. So we've been able to build the unit up to where it is right now. We still have a long way to go. I put a lot of pressure on Joy sometimes, I think, and I don't want to do that. So we need to have an adequate amount of help for her, because this is a big deal. It's a huge problem, not only in Manatee County, but everywhere. Every city has this issue. But we want to be passionate with the way that we handle the homeless outreach program, but we want to be helpful.
Right.
All right. A lot of times they end up going to the Manatee County Jail because of a trespass violation. That's not helping them. We're not doing anything to help them. So I'm going to let Joy get into her background. Joy, I want you to start before you were in law enforcement. What was your primary work? What was your education? What was your goal?
So prior to law enforcement, I was in the military. I did military police. Before that, I was in social work. I worked at a mental health hospital in Kansas City. I worked there for 3 years. And my education, I have a master's in criminology. I have a bachelor's in social psychology. I worked with behavioral health. So my focus was always on the Baker Act population and more children, but I knew I wanted to work with adult population and more community policing. So that's kind of what we do right now, reaching out to the community and seeing how we can divert those individuals who don't really meet criminal behavior. So whether it be homeless or addiction, mental health, things like that.
What is it people don't maybe understand? They see deputies, they think, well, patrol is going in there just to give them a hard time or, respond to a problem. But I know you're going to get into talking about the civilian side of that and the case managers. It's really a team effort every day.
Yeah. So I think what people don't understand is deputies don't really have that much authority. You have a different population across Manatee County. So you have the northern side of Manatee County that sees a homeless person and they're like, we just want them gone, and that sounds mean, but we did have an individual who lived on State Road 64 for years. Do you remember who I'm talking about?
Yes.
So we helped him, and he's housed, and he's still housed. But for years, people complained they just wanted him gone. There was nothing we could do, though, because the person who owned that property, he didn't care if he was there. He wasn't doing anything wrong. But then you have individuals in our Oneco area, and it doesn't bother them as much. So deputies might go out and talk to them, but there's nothing. If the property owners don't care, there's nothing that we can really do. And they're not really going out to give them a hard time either. You might be just assessing the situation. What do they need? And a lot of times people are so far into their homelessness that they don't see how they can get out of it, and they don't know what they need. So when our program came about, we didn't really know what direction to go in because we didn't have the community resources. So we had Centerstone, and they're great, but they didn't have the resources or funding either. So as the years have gone on and overdoses have increased, more funding has came in for opiate money, and so we're able to work with more programs. So like now we have the Salvation Army, and we have, I think the county has about 22 beds at Salvation, and we hold 8 of them. So we're able to take people out off the streets, place them in the Salvation, and actually work with them from there. We never had that before. So to go out and talk to somebody on the streets and say, how can I help you when you don't have any place to put them for that stability, it's really hard. And it's hard for them to even imagine.
The mental health side of it, the substance abuse, and these are the things that you're evaluating from the get-go.
Yeah, and it's typically co-occurring. And not only that, but a lot of it's generational. So I'll give you an example. Somebody who's really close to my heart, she grew up in Samoset and in the foster care system after years of sexual abuse. Became homeless, and she called me from jail and said, I'm pregnant. I don't want to go back to the camp. What can I do? So from jail, talked about First Steps, Mothers and Infants, different programs. She ended up applying, did that program, did our Mother's House in Venice after that, and then was sober for 4 years, did great. She relapsed, and one relapse, and she called me, and it was this week, just crying. And she said, I'm not going to walk away from this child. What can I do? Can you help me advocate? So that night, she was in the hospital, called 2 programs. She interviewed, and she was accepted to both. So we'll go to court with her, we'll go to visitation, give her her documents or acceptance letters, kind of advocate from a distance. We don't want to get too involved but we want to be that support as well because she doesn't have the family support. So we've stuck with a lot of people for years and years and years. And we might lose contact and they might kind of slip up, but a lot of them follow up with us later and say, you know, something happened. I really need you guys. And it's nice to know as law enforcement that you have that relationship with somebody who, you know, you've arrested 3 times.
That's why she's here, right? She has the not only the passion, she has the contacts now to be able to reach out to these different programs and to hopefully get, you know, these men and women placed somewhere. And it's not easy, Randy, because there's not a lot of locations out here where you can say, yeah, we can take you here and you can stay here long term. Those resources are just not available. So, Joy, we always hear about the homeless population that we know are addicted to drugs or alcohol. What do you think the percentage of homeless families we have out here that are just trying to make it, you know, day to day, but can't afford housing and have maybe kids in their vehicle as well, just maybe traveling to different parking lots every night?
That's a hard one because it's so transient and it's not just our community. We've come in contact with families living in Walmart parking lot who have come from Indiana because after COVID, they lost housing and they ended up here and they've just kept traveling to wherever they can go, panhandling, doing whatever they can do. And it's really sad because the kids are the ones who kind of get lost in the system and you don't know what's happening to them and who is keeping track of the kids. We had the Indiana family, an aunt called because the last time she had heard they were headed to Florida and Bradenton or Sarasota. And she said, I just need to know that the kids are safe, you know? So stuff like that's scary because how do you track a child, you know? They're not getting jobs, so you don't have credit cards. How do you find out what happens to these children? And they're with their parents. But we do have a lot of families, but we don't know how many.
We just have to try to find something for them temporarily.
Yeah. And I think the path that the community's on right now with the shelters, that should help a lot. And then, unfortunately, we have a lot of families who are completely resistant to shelters and to accepting any kind of help.
Now, why is that, do you think?
I have no idea, to be honest, because we had an incident last night with the mom sleeping outside here. Did you know that?
Yes.
With multiple children?
Yes.
And we've offered her services multiple times, and she's refusing. And it doesn't make any sense why you'd want to sleep on the street with a 3-year-old, 5-year-old, 7-year-old. And DCF is not getting involved. And I mean,
I thought that DCF did get involved last night. And they were looking for placement last night.
They are connecting them to a voluntary program.
So you don't believe she's not going to stay
She's not.
in that program?
Well, no. So the program they're connecting her with is a voluntary program for the children. So it's a foster care diversion program. So the kids would be able to go there, have a safe place while mom looks for a job. But I don't think that'll happen.
So, but are you saying that you could put her in temporary housing?
Well, she could go into the shelter. The shelter already agreed to take her.
And which shelter is that?
The Salvation Army.
Okay.
But she declined to go.
So those are the struggles, right, Randy? That's what we deal with. That's what Joyce and her team are dealing with every day. I mean, it's sad, and you're limited. You can't force people to do something they don't want to do. They still have free will, but those kids are at the mercy of the decisions being made by the mother. So, how many times have you dealt with her over the years, do you think? Several?
Oh, I think she's new. The families are typically they don't stick around for very long. They don't want law enforcement involved, and once it's not really criminal, they'll move on to the next county. We had this happen last year. Same thing. This happens a lot in our parking lot because they think it's a safe place. This is at least the fourth family in our parking lot. Then they move to the mall, and then typically Home Depot, and they keep hitting plazas, and then they disappear.
And, a lot of people may not realize where the sheriff's office is located. We have a bus station nearby. So we see the issues that are happening with displaced families, people that are struggling. We had people in our parking lot that find a place to plug in to charge a phone. So we see it every day. Maybe that's partly why it's something that we think about a lot. Obviously, you and your team are out there dealing with it every day. And the transient part of it is something maybe the average person in our community doesn't understand, even in terms of the population, because I get that question coming to me from the general public or the media, what is the homeless population? And I guess we'll never know.
No, I don't think we will. It bounces so much, especially like our bus lines in our county are free. They can easily go to Sarasota line. And then, I met one girl on US 41 walking, and her goal was to walk to Miami. So, and she had came from Tampa. So it's just some people, you just never know where they're coming from. And a lot of it does have to do with mental illness, and you don't have the family and support, and nobody's there to advocate to address it.
So let's dig a little deeper into the mental health side. Your challenges that you face, and what are the resources available to help you when you're dealing with a homeless person with obvious mental illness, on top of addiction as well. What are your options?
Very, very little. And that's luckily, we have been very blessed with Centerstone. We've built some really good relationships with the forensics team, the different management there. For example, we have one individual who she was sent to state hospital from jail in October of 23. She came back to the jail in May of this year, and she was dropped off at Salvation Army. And she was always a Palmetto person, never in our jurisdiction. And I saw her sitting outside the Salvation Army, and it was horrible. She hadn't moved in 3 days. She's schizophrenic, and she hadn't moved in 3 days. She was covered in a sunburn that was boils, covered in bugs, and just rocking back and forth. So I called Centerstone, called the forensics team, kind of found out what had happened, and re-Baker acted her, and took her to the hospital, got all the clearance. They kept her for 2 weeks and discharged her back to the streets. So then BPD ended up arresting her for a trespass because she refused to move. But BPD did not know her history. I know her history. So I talked to the jail, and they sent her to Centerstone. From Centerstone, I worked with the forensics team to petition guardianship. And yesterday I attended her Baker Act hearing to keep her there while the guardianship is hopefully approved. And then she'll go into an ALF for somebody with a mental illness. So that's what we do. It's a lot of petitioning for guardianship, a lot of paperwork. And that's why the case managers are necessary, because advocating for that type of stuff, you're sitting there for hours. You're doing hours of paperwork, hours of pulling reports, reading the details, the history. It's very time consuming. So we use them a lot for that, for the paperwork part and really putting all that together.
And we find out there's a story behind every person.
Oh, hers is completely tragic. And the person who's doing the guardianship, she was her DCF worker. So she's 41, the individual. She was her DCF worker as a child and knew her. And She's a life of prostitution as a child and removals and all kinds of stuff. So she just never had a chance.
Do you think some of these people, and Sheriff, I know you've seen this in your career, they don't think they can get out of it? Do they think that there's any hope?
Well, unfortunately, because of the trauma that's happened to her and the drugs that she used for the trauma, her brain cannot. There isn't, I wouldn't say there's not hope, but when you go to the state hospital and you're released, the state hospital is there for stabilization. So she was stabilized to her norm. So she's not ever going to be able to function like a normal person. That's her norm. The problem is she was released to the streets. There needs to be a place for people who can't take care of themselves.
We are a law enforcement agency. 41 years ago when I started this job, we would not be doing this type of social work, right, that we're doing now. But we have become much larger than just a law enforcement agency. And that's why. I mean, I want you just to think about everything Joy just told you, what she has done for this one woman who needs help. And there's hundreds of them out there, and we don't have anywhere to put them. We don't have any resources available where we can say, yeah, this is where we're going to take you, and this is where you're going to have assistance. We're going to get you help, and you're going to be able to stay here, right? I mean, we're having to do petitions and court orders, and that's a job that a family would normally do. So Joy and her team become this person's family. No one's going to fight for that person other than Joy and the team. I want you to get into your team and how valuable they are, not only to our community, but for you as well. Because, I mean, you were the lone wolf. You were doing this all by yourself.
Yeah.
And it was just, you were doing everything that you could, but you were not even touching the top of the mountain.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, did you go over the draft from this month for June? I mean, you would not believe the things that our team does as law enforcement. And really the way that I came up with this program was I rode with other agencies. I rode with Hillsborough and Sarasota and Tampa and all kinds, Pinellas, and visited lots of shelters to see how they case managed and what their LEOs did. And then we kind of we mixed everything together and came up with our own thing. But our deputies are awesome. We have the most empathetic deputies. Our case managers are amazing. In our June newsletter talks about how one of our elderly men who is an alcoholic, he's in his 70s, he's a veteran. One of our deputies found him on the street. We had placed him in housing earlier. He was in our video with the handicapped child. Right. Well, not child, but so he had relapsed bad. And our deputy had to cut his pants off because they were so soiled so that he could take a shower, and had to assist him to get into the shower at Salvation Army and really work with him to then get him an interview for an ALF, which he then got housed, and he's doing awesome. But you're not going to find a deputy who is going to do that stuff. And I mean, yesterday I had 2 case managers with 2 elderly people, and it was the no pants day. I mean, they went to do welfare checks on 2 people who neighbors called in concerns, and both of them were sitting in homes with no air conditioning. And you know how hot it was yesterday, and no pants on. But they're amazing. They take the time to do the paperwork, to sit down with them. I have Deputy Willman. She's been with me since she was my first deputy who came on board, and then Deputy Ensign, Deputy Kaysen, And then I have 4 case managers, Wanda, Lindsay, Kristen, and Nicole, and each one of them kind of has like a different niche, but they pick up the slack if one's overloaded. But they're all amazing. They work well with the clients, never turn anyone away. It's a great team.
And that's why it's so important that we highlight this and make this a topic on one of these episodes.
And I'm sure you would tell me you need more help, right?
Oh, yeah.
Right?
So
We would always appreciate more help.
Yeah. So let's get into shelters.
Mm-hmm.
When we first started this venture, when we got into this and we committed, I mean, like you said, we looked at Sarasota, Pinellas, the entire Tampa Bay area, but we wanted to be the best.
Mm-hmm.
But the lack of shelters was the first thing that you would talk about all the time.
Yeah.
And I do want to give a shout out to Commissioner Amanda Ballard for her leadership and what she has done to help us receive funding and also to acquire property for our shelters. You know, our old D2 office is going to hit. Hasn't opened up yet, has it?
No, it's projected for December.
All right, that's at 57th Avenue, about 5th Street East. And who is that building going to house?
Women.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And then Commissioner Ballard has been the voice behind Fresh Start.
Yes.
That will hopefully begin sometime soon as far as construction, 26th Avenue East. It's the old Public Works location. Trying to model as much as we can after Safe Harbor,
Mm-hmm.
but once again, putting our touch on things. But that's going to be huge for us. And we want to be able to take these men and women who would be going to jail because of a simple trespass, and we want them to be taken to Fresh Start. The services are going to be there, medical care, you name it, right? So it's a one-stop shop. Let's take them there and really start to address the issues. So you want to kind of dig into that and why you feel that's important and really feel the need to go into what else needs to be done.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, it's very hard. Everybody needs a community. So like I said, a lot of this stuff is generational. It's people who don't have that support, and that's why they're in addiction. Well, they found their support in their community on the streets. So to take them to detox, take them to a 28-day program, and then get out and have no place to go, what do you fall back into? So we need that shelter. It's vital for sobriety. We started community care court, and which is why our 8 beds at Salvation Army is so important. But when we have the shelter, we're going to be able to take our people from community care court, which is our homeless diversion court system, and we'll be able to put them in the shelter in treatment beds and work with them from there to get their IDs, to get job placement, housing placement, and to get them stable so that they can be productive and not have to go back to the streets.
And for those that don't know, community care court is because they've violated misdemeanors?
Yes, it's offenses related to homelessness. So like open container, sometimes panhandling if it's multiple warnings, trespasses, petty thefts, things like that.
Which is a court we did not have until when, Joy?
Until 2024. And it came about because the reason it came about, honestly, is because I had Amanda Ballard riding with me, and I took her out, and I wanted to show her how frustrated the property owners were, because they were paying thousands of dollars in cleanup after trespassing homeless individuals, and there were no true repercussions. They would go to jail for a couple days, get released, and they weren't happy. They had an $8,000 cleanup bill. And so we created Community Care Court, and it's really awesome because we take that individual, they go to jail, and when we arrest them, we talk to them about community care court, and it's kind of like a get out of jail free card, and we literally check them out of jail. So they get booked, and then we'll come pick them up the next day, and we don't let them go back to the streets. So we will check them out of jail, and if we know that they're a fentanyl user, we automatically take them to Centerstone so they can safely detox. And then from Centerstone, we put them into a program if there's not a bed available for 28 days. So we have taken individuals from detox to the DMV, to the airport, and flown them straight to Baltimore for a year-long program.
Which leads us to the Baltimore program.
Yes.
And this is new and quite impressive.
Yeah, it is. And it's all about, taking people out of their triggers, out of that community that drives addiction, and putting them in a place to just focus on rehabilitation.
Who's eligible for that?
Anyone, all ages. They have people in their 70s there. So men, women, anyone. And women with children up to the age of 3.
Yet another thing.
That's been big. I mean, I remember just with the fentanyl crisis, years ago, Major Shear and I were really trying to think outside the box on how we could help people. So we started going to every overdose, trying to gather information from the victims of this disease and trying to help them. And, once again, there's not a lot of locations to take these that are struggling with addiction. And once again, you have to give credit to Amanda Ballard. Mm-hmm. This has kind of been her baby, and it's working. And Fresh Start is going to be a huge benefit to not only us, but our community, because it'll be the first time where we've been able to take these men and women to a location and truly give them the help they need. And I told Joy, you got to make this yours. So, I give her free rein. Go in there and make sure they design it properly. Don't let them add or delete something that you don't agree with. So, I think for the most part, you've been able to do that, correct?
Yeah.
Is it everything you hoped it would be?
Yes. I think it'll be really good.
And what else is going to be on the property, Joy? Are we going to have turning points? They talked about turning points at one time. You probably don't know this, but I think they want to have paramedics on scene.
Yeah. So we will. We're working with EMS right now, where there will be a medical section, and we will have respite beds. So one of the big problems is we have a lot of elderly who are on the streets, and they have mobility issues. So we'll have beds for that population and keep them there until they can transfer into like an ALF.
So we're also going to have different stages, correct?
Yeah.
Because you have people out here that truly want Joy's help. Mm-hmm. Then you have many that they may want to lay their head for a night, but they don't want her help. But we're going to try to take care of the entire population.
Correct. So we're going to have same thing as Pinellas Safe Harbor, mats on the ground type thing, come in for one night. We're not going to turn people away, and we don't want to make people leave. At Salvation, 6 o'clock in the morning, they have to leave the premises. We don't want to do that, but we're not going to let people sleep all day. We want them to get up, see a case manager, do something productive. But the people who are working with the case manager, they do have a job. We're planning on turning the offices into rooms, and they'll be shared rooms, but it'll give people a space of their own to have belongings and to kind of shut off everything else.
Let me tell you why that's critical. We have a lot of crimes that are committed in homeless camps. This gives them a safe location to sleep throughout the night, and we're going to have deputies there. And which, when Joy talks about needing more help, I'm going to have to man this. They asked the Manatee County Sheriff's Office to man this location, and we will, because we want it to be done right. So we will have additional personnel on the premises helping these men and women get checked in and making sure that they're not violating any rules, but it gives them a safe location to go to sleep, and that's critical.
And all of this has taken time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think a lot of times people just don't understand how much you've been working on this, Sheriff, and working with the county commission. Enjoy all of your efforts, and you're, in a sense, lobbying to see this happen. So for...
Yeah, but I don't think that we would be, listen, Randy, we would not be this far if it wasn't for Joy.
Right.
We would not, because she just has the passion. I keep saying that. She has the knowledge, and she just has the go-to. She gets the job done, and you got to have the right person for this. And not every agency can say they have a Joy Jewett. I'm lucky.
Well, we're blessed, and you make mention of that in telling us your background. What brought you to the sheriff's office? This was what you were made to do for us, and absolutely a huge benefit, for the sheriff's office. And it's good too that people are understanding a little bit more about what our population of homeless are dealing with on a daily basis, how you guys are getting in there and interacting with them. Most people don't know. We've gotten some good media attention on it, but we can always get more.
Yeah.
But even then, that's not everybody in our community seeing that. And there's so much work to be done.
There is.
We'll deal with something later today that,
Right.
You can't even predict.
Right.
The job is to protect and serve. So we serve everyone, and that's what we're doing each and every day. And Joy and her team, I want to commend you.
Thank
really,
you.
I mean, it's awesome the work that all of you have done. I'm very blessed as a sheriff to have outstanding people that truly care about our community. You can't fake this. You got to want to do it.
It takes a special person. We were talking about the staff we need as we expand, and it takes a special person to be with this team, because we have a dark humor, but you kind of have to set the bar very low, very, very low, because these people are going to fail. And it's the little things like, you got them housed, they might relapse, but they're calling you back. It's the little things that you need to be happy about. You can't get upset. And if you take everything personal, if you take their failures personal, then you'll be miserable in this position.
Randy, for a lot of these people, it's the first time where they relapsed, where help was still there for them to recover. Families are notorious for giving up, and after a while you get tired. But Joy and her team are always there. So if you relapse 2, 3, 4, 5 times, we're still going to be here. We are still going to help you. We're not going away. We're not going to leave you. And I think that touches a lot of the people that you help, because they've never had that before. They've never had that support.
Yeah.
And you said it very well. It's baby steps.
Mm-hmm.
It's every little bit. One step better from street to stability.
Yeah.
And maybe stability is something they never thought they could achieve.
Yeah.
And I think people are encouraged in our community. We do get some good feedback on that, to know that we have a resource assistance program. Not every law enforcement agency is doing this, as you've pointed out, Sheriff, and we want to highlight what we're doing so people understand the plight of these people. We're compassionate. We care about them. We want to help them. And there's a lot of work still to be done in that area, right?
So once again, we want to thank Commissioner Ballard and the county commissioners for their support, their leadership, in helping us get this job accomplished, because it takes money, and they've been able to get the funding necessary to open up these new facilities, and it's going to be important. It's going to pay huge dividends down the road. It'll be great for us.
Very well said. Thank you, Joy.
Thank you.
We are always open to the questions that people have. We hope this stimulates some conversation too. And so if you want to reach out and learn a little bit more, I know, Joy, you're accessible and would be glad to answer some questions. So we encourage people as they're listening and watching our podcast to reach out to us and let us know their thoughts and suggestions too on things like that. They know how to get a hold of us. The best email is PIO, that stands for the Public Information Office, at manateesheriff.com. You can find this on our website, manateesheriff.com. Follow us on our social platforms, on Facebook, Instagram, on Twitter, X, on our YouTube channel. And we are going to do everything we can, Sheriff, to continue to get the word out on highlighting wonderful things that are happening in our community. Yes, there's issues. It's not all perfect, right? And it brings to light problems in our community. But I know, Sheriff, you're proud to be able to say we're at least trying to do something about it.
Well, we are doing something about it, and we will continue. And I just want to say, Randy, I think you've been amazing today. I see some good qualities from you today, and I appreciate what you do as well.
Thanks. That means I might be back for the next episode. Thank you, Sergeant Joy Jewett, joining us. Sheriff Rick Wells.
Randall.
Well said. This is the Well Said Podcast. I'm Randy Warren. We'll talk to you next time.